everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day. Today I am going to do the book Postscript tag by Adam at Memento Mori. I will link his original video down below, but I'm sure you guys have already seen it. I'm a little late in the game here. So, question number 1 is name the longest book you read this year and the book that took you the longest to read. So the longest book I read is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This is a sci-fi book that combines the Kennedy assassination with time travel. It is 842 pages long. I enjoyed it. I especially liked how the time travel aspect worked into the general Stephen King universe. I really enjoyed that part of it. The book that took me the longest to read is Bonhoeffer by Eric Metaxas. I have talked about this several times on my channel already. I did a fuller review of it in one of my earlier videos this year where I talk about some of the nonfiction books that I read. It took me almost, I think, over a year to read this book, but it was pretty good. I have a hard time with nonfiction sometimes. Question number 2 is name a book that was outside of your comfort zone. And for this one, I chose 2 books that are just from genres I don't normally read. The first one is The Humans. This is a soft science fiction book. I don't read a lot of science fiction, and I liked the science fiction element of this book, but I didn't like the literary fiction element of this book. The other book is All Quiet on the Western Front. This is a classic war novel, and I don't typically read books about war that have soldiers as the main characters, but this was definitely well worth it. It's beautifully written, well translated, the characters are so engaging, and the story, it needed to be told, and I'm so glad that Eric Maria Remarque told this story for us. It's beautiful, and you should read it, even if it's outside of your comfort zone. Question number 3 is how many books did you reread in 2018? I reread 3 books, even though I was supposed to reread 0 books. So the first 2 is somewhere in the middle of the year. I got frustrated with the audiobook that I was reading, so I quit that one and listened to an audiobook that I knew was wonderful, and I listened to 2 Harry Potter books on audio. And then the third book was a young adult historical fiction book that I read when I was much younger, and I reread this year just because I had forgotten what it was about, and that was called A Northern Light. And I'll put a picture of it here, I think. Question number 4 is what was my favorite reread of 2018, and I would have to say the Harry Potter books, because I actually didn't like A Northern Light this time around. Reading it as an adult was a very different experience, and while there are elements I loved about it as a historical fiction, there were other elements that I did not like. It was good as a historical fiction because it did not contain that annoying romance in it, which I thought was especially impressive because it was a young adult historical fiction. So I liked that element of it, but I didn't like some of the choices that the main character made. So it was a very different reading experience for me reading it as an adult rather than as a teenager. Question number 5, name a book that you read for the first time in 2018 that you look forward to rereading. And that would be Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone. I know that when I leave Alaska, I'm going to want to come back to this book. Question number 6 is, what was your favorite short story or novella in 2018? And I didn't read any of those. It's a genre that I don't usually read, and that's something that I actually want to change this year. One of my goals is to read a short story collection. So if you have any that you loved in 2018, definitely put it in the comments below, and I will continue watching these Postscript tags so I can see which ones you guys liked the best. Question number 7 is name a book with mass appeal that I would recommend to many different kinds of people. The first book I'm going with is Rebecca. This is a classic, but I'm recommending it to most people because the writing is beautiful, but still easily accessible, unlike other classics that you might have a harder time sinking your teeth into because of the writing style. Also, this book is a mystery, but it's not a whodunit mystery. There's elements of, it's gonna keep you guessing the whole time, and you're completely invested in these characters, and some of the characters are so dark and creepy. It's a great book, and I would definitely recommend it to you if you have not read it already. And then the other book that I would recommend to a wide variety of people is A Man Called Uva. It's a beautifully written, well-told story about an ornery, grumpy old man, and it tells a story of how he became this grumpy old man and what happens to him as he builds new relationships in his elderly years. And it's a beautiful story that I think everybody should read. If I just do say so myself, you should go read that book. Question number 8 is a book with specialized appeal, a book that I loved in 2018, but that I wouldn't recommend to just anybody. And I have had a really difficult time explaining this book, but I'm going to go with Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a soft sci-fi / literary fiction book about a slightly futuristic society that has cloning. Okay. Now it's just even describing it, it's such an oddball of a book, but it's so good. The reason I wouldn't recommend it to everybody is because the characters aren't that likable, and even though it's science fiction, because it has that cloning element, it is really literary fiction, and I think that you might feel deceived if you pick up this book. If you pick up this book and expect Remains of the Day, you're going to be disappointed. If you pick up this book and expect like cool sci-fi cloning stuff, you're going to be disappointed. But for what this book actually is, it's beautiful and brilliant. It's just a quiet tale of what it means to be alive in this world, what it means to be human, and how you live your life in view of death. And a death that is coming soon, and that you might not fully understand. So it's beautiful, and I loved it, but I wouldn't recommend it to all readers because of the oddity that is its genre. Question number 9 is, reflect on your year as a bookish content creator. This year, I have mixed feelings about this year. I had a great time making videos this year and getting to know more people on YouTube in the limited capacity that I did. And I was very pleased with how consistently I created in the spring and the summer. However, when the school year started, I had a really hard time keeping up with it. And then I also had surgery in September for a fertility issue that I have. And I just had an incredibly difficult time getting back in the swing of things and being able to balance work and the emotional aspects of all of that. I just couldn't add more things to it. I would get to the end of the day and I would just be done. And then I think to add on top of that, winter just comes quick here, and it gets dark fast, and that seasonal depression is something that I think that I struggle with, and so I had to cut something back, and it was YouTube. However, my goal for next year is to not let that happen, and I want to post consistently and be involved consistently because I like so many of you people. You are pretty awesome, and I want to stay involved and continue to get to know you better. And so that's sort of my reflection and a goal that I have for next year as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you have not done this Postscript tag, I definitely recommend that you do it. And I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Thanks. Bye.